station because I can't somehow get all 15 minutes into this recording. But yeah, basically more than 100 Garmin engineers have worked on Autoland, and including a team of human factor experts. They had to carefully design the system so a non-flying passenger cannot only switch it on, but understand what is happening during an Autoland event. The Autoland feature is only used for emergency purposes only. The idea behind the Autoland is to say, in quote, bad pilot, good airplane. The airplane can fly itself on cruise, but more importantly is to have full assurance of landing. Human factors can contribute to the greatest accidents in history, but Autoland guarantees a better outcome for safety for flight. In the M600 airplane application, most system activates at 18,000 feet if the autopilot is engaged and the pilot doesn't interact with the avionics system in a 15-minute period. At higher altitudes, the engagement period is shorter. Autoland also tries to alert the pilot with repeated chiming sounds of "Are you alert?" before engaging. Autoland will also engage if the electronic stability and protection system is engaged for a prolonged period of time, first putting the M600 into level mode, then implementing an automatic landing. Even in the worst case scenario, the pilot passed out and an engine failure, Autoland can improve the outcome by implementing a controlled descent to nearly smooth terrain. Autoland will also help rescue a pilot trapped, if ever trapped, by widespread 0-0 fog, allowing a safe landing where it would be difficult, if not impossible, to safety land using an ILS or LPV approach. So basically, the way this works is, as a pilot flies along, Autoland is constantly looking at the weather, terrain, obstacles, and available airports, preparing for a rare case when it is activated. In the M600, there is a prominent guarded switch on the instrument panel, and the Cirrus version jet has one on the overhead. The pilot has to do with this is to explain to the passengers of how to use this button. When engaged, Autoland immediately turns the airplane towards the nearest suitable airport while displaying on all three flight deck displays carefully designed messages that show the passenger what is happening. A moving map on each PFD clearly illustrates the path of the airplane is taken to get to the selected airport. Basically, it shows a split screen with the moving map on one side and a synthetic vision system on the other. MFD in the center shows messages for the passenger as the PFDs. One MFD messages is an animation of the cockpit and the controls with the warnings of keep hands and feet away from aircraft controls. Another explains in simple terms of how to use the radio. So if I can zoom right here, you can see that the emergency Autoland activate comes on this screen, and it'll show you the amount of minutes it takes for the airplane to land, depending on how far it is away from that selected airport. It will also show you the miles remaining in the top left corner, and also the hours of fuel remaining. So that's just to notify the passenger what's going on. But during this whole sequence, a smoothly modulated voice tells the passengers exactly what to expect. At the same time that Autoland is being used, Autoland uses information about the state of the airplane to broadcast an emergency radio message on appropriate frequencies, and it resets the transponder to 7700 emergency mode. The radio broadcast might occur on the local approach control or control tower frequency, but if the aircraft is landing in a non-towered airport, the Autoland will broadcast on the local CTAF frequency, alerting the authorities. But it only does not do that, it also alerts the other pilots that are flying towards the airplane that an emergency airplane is landing and that aircraft will be using that runway. As it flies the airplane towards the airport, Autoland shows the airplane down and, if necessary, enters a hold to bleed off excess airspeed. Passengers can communicate with controllers by radio, as you see on the bottom screen, with the with a touch screen with a pseudo microphone button if they want to, but it's not necessary. The airport must have a GPS approach with a vertical guidance, and Autoland follows the approach precisely, lowering the landing gear and flaps at the correct time. As it nears the runway, Autoland reduces power and lines the airplane up with the center line of the runway, then lands and applies brakes until the airplane stops. After stopping, it then switches off the engine and instructs passengers on how to open the door. The reason is to prevent the possibility of a passenger running into a moving prop. Autoland offers a new way to ensure safe outcome when a pilot becomes incapacitated for any reason. It's much easier for a non-flying passenger or spouse compared to learning how to land the airplane. If the pilot or passenger is unable to engage Autoland, say in a case where there is no oxygen and everyone passes out, Autoland engages automatically for the certain period of time that there is no pilot activity on the avionics control system. The pilot who recovers perhaps after Autoland has descended to a lower altitude can easily abort the Autoland procedure by pushing the autopilot button on the mode controller or the button on the yoke, which you can kind of see it right here. Garmin's Autoland to me is a cool feature in aviation and will create more safety nets for flights in general aviation, corporate and commercial. It's not very often that situations like these occur, but is the best safety net for the aircraft and passengers. And if you have any questions, my email is michael.p.johnston@siu.edu. Thank you.